Hello friends, so here I am showing you a chess match that I have played, and here I did some mistakes but at least managed to win anyhow. I am showing you guys with this game. I hope you will enjoy. So let's start. My opponent plays here d4. As you know that two most conventional openings in chess are e4 and d4. Here my opponent played d4. So I started with knight to f6. Knight to f6 means that I am going to play King's Indian defense. I love to play King's Indian defense, though thousand rated players should not try King's Indian defense as it's too hard, but I love to play it. So he played again c4 and I played g6. So now the game has a good position of King's Indian defense, and it's Zinovich position. Variation, yeah. So he played knight to c3. I played bishop to g7. He played e4 and I played d6. So knight to f3 and I castled. And here my opponent played bishop to g5, trying to remove that knight from there, and I played h6. Till here it's totally the book moves that we are familiar with in King's Indian defense, and there's a lot of matches in this King's Indian defense variation. And here my opponent took my knight, though he shouldn't took my knight, as the computer is showing that retreating the bishop to the e3 square is the best move. As we all know that bishops are slightly better than knights. We should never trade a bishop for a knight without any reason. Here even if he had traded that bishop with that knight, so here as we can see, oh I'm sorry, it's a little before. So here my opponent took my knight and I recaptured with this pawn. And here computer also shows that I should have taken this pawn with that bishop and shouldn't destroy my structure, but in my games I prefer to take with that pawn because I don't have any problem with this structure. I'm gonna push my pawn to f5 at a time, and we'll ask the question about that pawn in e4. So here my opponent played e5. As you can see that it's already a blunder, though being a 1000 player I don't know, or rather didn't know why this is a blunder, and this was the best move as we can see. Yeah, so I took it from this d pawn, though computer is showing that I should have taken it with the e pawn. I shouldn't have traded this, though I traded that the queen with his, as without the queen I won't face any problem with my kingside structure. This is sort of impenetrable now. And then I took that pawn in e5. My opponent played here the knight. I guess he wants to play knight to c7, as it will definitely capture my rook. So here actually soon, so I played this move e4 in I hope in 0 point something seconds or 1 or 2 seconds to grab that knight. If he takes the pawn in c7, I'm gonna take that knight and then the pawn in g2. And I don't think it's a good plan, because if I took that pawn in g2, then that g5 will be opened and my king would have been in a sort of a danger. Though my opponent has retreated the knight, and it's the best move here. And then I pushed that pawn even a step further. Don't know why, please don't ask. I pushed that because I wanted to push that. I didn't play the knight to a6 to prevent knight to c7, but I played that. He captured with that knight, and it's a mistake because he should have taken with that pawn, and should have played around that single pawn in e3, and now I have played rook to e in e8 and pinned the knight to the king. Now my opponent played bishop to e2 and he tried to castle, and then I tried to fianchetto my bishop with pawn to b6 and then bishop to c7, but because the computer is showing that it's a miss, let's see what's the best move. Oh, that there was a free pawn but I didn't took it. Though while I am trying to fianchetto my bishop, my opponent played that knight to d5, and here I saved my rook with, of course, knight to a6. That I should have played a lot earlier, but now I played that move, and as you can see there's a pawn in c4, so the bishop now don't see my knight, and so my pawn and my everything is totally safe now. And in that next move he pushed his pawn to challenge my b6 pawn, and here I didn't took that pawn because I didn't want to lose my structure again, so I just left it as it was and fianchetted my bishop and attacked his knight. So here he retreated with that knight, and as you can see that it was a mistake. Apparently the best move was to bring the other knight here. As you can see, with this move he is developing his knight and also protecting his knight with that rook, and I shouldn't have took that knight, as we should not trade bishops with knights without any favor, as bishops are slightly better than the knights as they has the longer range. And here I took that free pawn in g2 and opened the g file. I don't think that I should have done this, but I did. So I took back my bishop and he took on my pawn in b6, and I captured it with my c pawn, but computer is showing that it's an inaccuracy and I should have took it with the a pawn, and now I have an open file for my rook in the a8, and it would have been activated without even moving it. Okay, though it was sort of my blunder, and not blunder, I mean an inaccuracy, but I played. And here my opponent did a mistake and he just played that knight to e4. I don't know why, perhaps it may be a time scramble or he just blundered it, and I immediately took that knight with my bishop, and as he recaptures here I got a piece, and here just simply I get an extra piece. So now I am +4, and as you can see that eval bar is showing that it's 5.0. Yeah, it means I have 4 pieces and my position is better than him, so it's equivalent to +5. And now he castles, which is apparently the best move, and I developed my knight because the knight has a short range, so it's not safe in the corner of a board. And here my opponent challenged my knight and I did a blunder. Here I should have taken a little bit more time and moved it, because I literally am now in a fork. So my opponent found it and played the great move here. Of course now he is gonna take one of my rooks. And here I played a brilliant move for 1000 level player. Yeah, you know, because if you are in 1500 or higher, then of course it's a known move for you, but for me, like, it's a brilliant. Chess.com is showing me that, and here I was ready that okay, take my rook, but here though I am an exchange down, but my position would be better. And as you can see that even here taking this rook is a miss. Why? Because computers wanted to take that knight with that rook. So now if I capture this rook, and now he just took it. These computers are like hell, man. We can't play like them as we are normal people, so we played like this, and I was exchanged down, but I have a little bit more of pawns, I mean a single pawn, and here he challenged my knight and I moved my knight to a fork, though it's not a fork because he can save that pawn in being a1 or in a2, but here my opponent took his rook to d7. As you know, its rooks are in 7th files are quite dangerous, and here I took that pawn, and I don't know why he plays rook to c4. I guess his idea is to take this rook in c7, and you know that two rooks are in 7th file are called piggies in the 7th, and they are literally much more dangerous even than a queen. And here I played rook to f7 because I thought that if he plays rook to c7 and if he thinks to take my pawn in f7 and then my bishop here, so and I became a little bit sus and played that. I shouldn't have been that much afraid, as my rook is now behind my pawn and it's a passive rook, so it's not that much of a 5-point rook, as his rooks are far more valuable. And he plays rook to c7. Even apparently this is a mistake, and here rook takes a7 was the best move as it was a hanging pawn, so he didn't need to waste a more move. However, he played that and I played pawn to a5, that I just wanted to trade that pawn so that he don't have a passer in b file, as it's gonna be a danger for me and I might have to sacrifice one of my minor pieces. So here he took my pawn and I took his pawn, and he's gonna take my pawn here. And as you can see, I have played knight to b4 here. Actually, I didn't thought about it. I didn't think about it. But once I thought that I might be get a position with the fork in the rooks. I mean, I may fork these rooks, so I took a risk and played that knight to b4 move. And another move was in my mind that there is bishop to c3 and then bishop to b4 to protect my dark squared pawn. But and here, however, he took this pawn and I played knight to c6, and then he played rook to a6. As you can see, it was even an inaccuracy. Why? Because now I forked the rooks and my opponent just retreated. He was enough with it and didn't want to make it further.